Hi, everybody. Glad you're here. My name is Brad Satin. I'm kind of the communications arm for Hapco Philadelphia. Many of you, I imagine by now, know Paul Cohen, the attorney for Hapco Philadelphia, and we're glad you're here. We're talking a little bit about this Phase 4 rollout of the city for money that's come available, and there have been a lot of questions. So Paul is going to take them. Or he's actually going to conduct a presentation. There will be a little bit of time afterwards. We anticipate this will run about 30 minutes. There will be a little bit of time for questions on this topic. And then this video will be put on Hapco Philadelphia's website. I will say that the website is being improved, and as a result, it's in a bit of a building stage right now. So this may or may not be on as early as tomorrow, but we will get it posted so that you can watch it again later. If you have questions, we do ask everybody to be on mute. If you have questions, please type them on the side, and I'll kind of monitor them. And when Paul is through, we will take some of the questions again that are relevant to this Phase 4 launch. I'm going to continue to admit people in. And with that, I will turn this on over to Paul Cohen. Hi, Paul.
Yeah, hi, Brad, and thank you all for joining. Quick disclaimer, in this COVID-19 times, anything that I say today is only good for today. The information changes daily. So if you're looking at this on the website, the information that you're getting might be stale if you're not looking at it today, March the 25th. We are now into Phase 4 of the rental assistance program in Philadelphia. Phase 1, I guess, ended sometime in mid-May. Phase 2 ended in November. Phase 3, you had to apply by February the 12th. Phase 3, if your tenants had applied for rental assistance, but you as the landlord had not signed on for the rental assistance, that money is still available. So anyone that had applied, any of your tenants that had applied prior to February 12th, there's still money available for them. There were lots of problems with the first 3 phases. The biggest problem was that with Phase 1, there was only $750 initially that was available. The city then increased that to $1,500. But the problem was you had to forgive all the rent over and above that amount, as well as the back rent. That was a problem. A lot of people didn't sign up for it. A lot of people didn't want to get involved in that program. They finally have gotten it right. Phase 4 is great. Totally recommend it for all of your tenants. It's a great way to get them paid, and there's a lot of money that's available. The money will be available for quite some time. The problem is going to be how quickly you can get the money, and that's what I'm going to try and help you with today. The goal is going to be to get those tenants to apply quickly so that you can start getting them, so strike that, so they can start getting the assistance, and the best part of it is the money is paid directly to you. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that there is a pre-registration available with the city of Philadelphia. You as a landlord can go on today and pre-register your property. The tenants will not be able to go on and register to get assistance until sometime next week. The key is going to be that if you've pre-registered your property, when the tenant goes on to register, it will link to your registration. So a lot of the information that they need to complete will be pre-populated. It will make the process run very smoothly. Hopefully, it is the city of Philadelphia. But having said that, they are doing a great job with this. And Greg Heller, I cannot thank him enough or praise him enough for what he's done and how he's gotten this together. He's doing an unbelievable job in running this program. So The key here is you pre-register your properties. You're going to have to pre-register all your properties. You're going to have to go in there separately and pre-register each one. They're trying to fix it so that a lot of the information that's generic to all your properties will pre-populate, but it's going to be done by the OPA number, the Office of Property Assessment number. So if you have a multifamily property, has 10 units, you only have to register once. You'll put all the different unit numbers in there. The tenant will then go in when it's opened up to the tenant next week. They'll put their unit number in, it'll link together, and boom, the process will be off and running. Okay, does that kind of make sense to everybody? So the key for you right now is to go in there today and register your properties, certainly before next week. Okay, you want your property registered before the tenant goes in there, because if not, then they're going to have to contact you and it's going to slow the process down and you're going to be behind everyone else that's pre-registered. So for all your properties, pre-register so that when the tenant goes in there, it speeds up the process. The next thing I recommend that you do is get a hold of your tenants that are behind on the rent and get them next week to sign up for the program. Now, as we all know, it's very difficult to get tenants to do anything. Even though this is free money for them, it's still very difficult to get them to go ahead and apply. Okay. The beauty part about this new phase 4 is that you as the landlord can now apply on the tenant's behalf. You need to have authorization from the tenant to be able to do that. So you can either get the authorization on your own, or you can go to the Hapco Philadelphia website, hapcophiladelphia.com. And on that website, we've put up a form for you to be able to download and give to the tenant to register. Now, having said that, we're having a little technical difficulties with the Hapco website. We're switching over to a new service provider so that it's going to be the new and improved Hapco Philadelphia website. Okay. So I would wait a couple of days to go on there. It might be, let's say, Monday or so, to be able to go on there and get that form. You can always do it on your own, just have the tenant sign an authorization allowing you to apply on their behalf. Strongly recommend that if you don't have tenants that you think are going to go and apply right away, that you get this authorization form signed and that you go ahead and apply on their behalf. Okay, very important that you apply as soon as possible. Okay, I think the money will be available for quite some time, like I said, but the concern is if you want to get that money quickly, you want to get this process rolling now. Don't wait. For the rental assistance, there's 3 things that the tenant is going to have to show in order to get the assistance. The first one is that they have to have a household income at or below 80% of the area median income, or AMI. Just to give you an example, if it's a family of 4, 80% will come to $77,300. If it's an individual, it's $54,150. So it's a somewhat high amount. If they have more than that amount of money that they have in income, hopefully they're able to pay the rent. That is the only documentation that the tenant needs to provide. When I say the only documentation, it's documentation of the fact that they're at or below the 80% level of AMI. So if they're working, they're going to need to upload a pay stub or give that information to you so you can upload that information when you have their approval to apply on their behalf. When you get their approval, if you get their approval, get some type of documentation showing how much money they're making. So whether it's a pay stub, if they're on unemployment, get a copy of their unemployment. If they're not working, get some kind of proof to show that they're not making any money. Okay, if you need to, you can get their income tax from last year, but get some type of documentation. That's the only documentation you're going to need, but you will need that. The second thing that the tenant is going to have to show is that they qualify for unemployment benefits or have experienced a reduction in household income, incurred significant costs, or experienced some other financial hardship due to COVID-19. Under the prior programs, the prior phases of rental assistance, that information needed to be documented. It was a nightmare in getting that done. What they've done now with the new program on phase 4, the tenant just has to check off a box saying that one of those things applies. So they're basically attesting to one of those things being applicable to that particular tenant. Wonderful. Makes it nice and easy. The third thing that they need to qualify is they have to demonstrate a risk of experiencing homelessness or housing instability. So it can be shown with past due rent that is owed, past due utilities, they received an eviction notice, or they're paying over 1/3 of their household income on rent. Again, no documentation is needed for this, which is wonderful. So there's going to be a checkbox. They're going to check off that one of those things applies. Great. The only documentation you need is on the income. So make sure that the tenants know that, they have the proof of that if they're doing it on their own, they're ready to upload it to the city. If you're doing it, you have that proof so you can upload it along with the authorization form. You do that, boom, you're going to get the rental assistance. The new rental assistance, so there was initially the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which allowed for 12 months of rental assistance. With the American Rescue Plan that was recently passed, it increased it to 18 months of assistance. You can get up to $2,000 a month in rent. That 18 months of assistance can be applied toward back money that is owed from April the 1st forward. So if they haven't paid you since April of last year, you can get 12 months of back money immediately, plus the ongoing rent for up to an additional 6 months, for a total of 18 months of assistance. The assistance going forward is done in 3-month intervals. So they'll get approved for 3 months of rent. At the end of the 3 months, the tenant has to get newly approved for an additional 3 months, and so on every 3 months after that. So if you only applied, let's say 2 months toward the back rent, and you wanted to keep getting future rent every 3 months, you're going to have to apply separately to get the tenant, or I should say recertify the tenant, to get an additional 3 months. Hopefully that'll be a simple process and they'll be able to continue to get the money. But this is a wonderful thing. 18 months of rental assistance is incredible that this is now available for the tenants, with the money going directly to you as the landlord. I've talked to landlords that have been doing it out in the counties, because the counties have already rolled out the programs. And some of them have gotten $18,000, $19,000, $20,000 in back rent. There is a lot of money that's available, but nobody's going to do it for the tenants and nobody's going to do it for you. So you need to actively seek out the money. And if you go ahead and do that, you will be able to get it. If you wait, you may not. So my suggestion to everybody on this call is jump on this as soon as possible so that you can get that rental money. Okay. Beyond that, there is also assistance for utilities, which is a wonderful thing. You can get up to $2,000 per utility. So $2,000 for PGW bills that are owed, $2,000 for the water bills and $2,000 for Pico. You won't be able to get ongoing utility bills. So you'll be able to get this month and back bills that are owed, but not future bills that are owed for the utilities. But that's additional money that's available for the tenants. I think that pretty much covers the emergency rental assistance program. It's like I said, I can't emphasize it enough. It's a wonderful program. You're not waiving any of the back rent. If the rent is more than $2,000 a month, you're still able to collect that. The tenant still owes that. But my suggestion is get as much as you can while it's available. The funds will be available through the end of December. Any money that's not spent by the city at the end of September will go back to the state and then be reallocated. Any money that's not spent by other localities or the state by the end of September will also be reallocated. And if Philadelphia has used up all its money by the end of September, there should be additional funds that are available toward the end of September and October that should carry through to the end of December.
So Paul, I'm on here as well. And if you want, we could take a few questions. Again, the takeaway here is start this today, right? Don't waste time here.
Yeah, you want to pre-register today. Get your property registered. You honestly, you have until next week because the tenants can't register until next week. But you want to get that registration done as soon as possible so that when the tenant's going on there, there is that link to your registration. And the other thing is don't rely on the tenants to go ahead and do this, that you should go ahead and have them authorize you to go ahead and do it on their behalf.
Okay, very good. So let's want to make sure everybody's here on mute. We're taking some questions in the chat room. I'll just run through them quickly. Those again that are relevant to this conversation. Del Val Realty has pre-registered approximately 170 properties. I have 40 more to register, but the site won't allow me to add any more. And secondly, they say when I pre-register a multifamily property, it just asks for total of units. I didn't register each unit. Thoughts on that?
So as far as the registering each unit, if they're just asking you for the total, that should be okay. As we speak, they are still updating the website to make it more efficient and make it more user-friendly and to work more efficiently. So if they're just asking for the total, that should be fine. If they're not letting you enter any additional information, I would get a hold of the people at the city, the person to contact. If you can't get a hold of anybody else, the person that's running the program is Greg Heller. His cell phone number, and he's happy to talk to you, is 215-320-7880. Again, that's 215-320-7880. The city is extremely helpful with this program. Keep in mind, it's not their money. It's the federal government's money. This has been appropriated through the Consolidated Appropriations Act and the American Rescue Plan. The city wants to spend this money. Any money the city doesn't spend goes back to the federal government and gets distributed to other localities and other states. So the city is looking to have the money spent within the city. So the city is going to do everything possible to help your tenants and you get that rental assistance.
That sounds good. Just to clarify, I know you touched on this. Did he say if I own individual properties, not multifamily units, they must be registered each individually?
Yes, that's correct. It goes by the OPA. So if you have an OPA that has multiple properties on it, you only have to register once. If you have separate OPA numbers for different properties, then you're going to have to register each property separately.
And you mentioned this, you can only get up to the amount that they are in default. What about moving forward? You talked about that, but that's...
Yeah, so there's 18 months in total that you can get, whether it's applied toward the back money or the future money, you get a total, or the tenant gets a total of 18 months. So right now it starts based on from April the 1st. So you could get in theory 12 months in back rent. If they only owe you 3 months in back rent, you would get 3 months in back rent, and then they could get an additional 15 months going forward so that the total would be 18 months. That's the max.
Someone asked if they registered and put all this information in phase 2, do they have to re-put in the information for phase 4?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the city is working to have that work so that you don't have to do that. But right now, unfortunately, you still have to enter the information again.
Okay. If you've already got 9 months in phase 1 and 2, how many more months can you get?
Great question. 18 more months. There is no lockout or no, because you got money before, it doesn't prevent you from getting, or the tenant from getting future money. This is a new phase. There's an additional 18 months that's available. So if they got money in phase 1 and 2, that's wonderful. There's another 18 months that are available, but the caveat is that you can't get coverage in the same month twice. So if they've already gotten, let's say the rent's 2,000 and they've gotten money for December, and they've gotten 1,500 under the old program, they can't get the additional 5 for December. You can't get double coverage on the same month.
Makes sense. Utility questions. Does the utility money go directly to you, the landlord, and where do you go to apply for the utility assistance? The same place?
It's the same place. That's a great question where the money is going. That I'm not sure about. I would assume that it would go directly to the utility, but I don't know how that works as far as where the money's going. If it's some type of a RUBS program that you have, then, and you're putting out the money, then the money should go to you. I'm hoping that there's a place where when you apply that it will be spelled out, but I will ask that specifically of the city.
Very good. Is there a stipulation about not evicting the tenants for a set period of time after receiving assistance? How will that work?
Great question. Not sure. So the program doesn't say that specifically, but people have said that you're not going to be able to evict for 3 months at the end of the program. We're trying to get clarification on that as well from the city. I would assume that's probably what it's going to be, is that you won't be able to evict for 3 months. My guess is that you're not going to be able to evict for 3 months anyway, the way things are going. So grab the money.
Here's a really good question. Tenants have left and they still owe $6,500. Does the program cover them in such a situation if, I guess, a tenant is gone?
No, it does not.
Okay.
The problem you have is that they would not meet the third prong because they can't demonstrate a risk of experiencing homelessness by not having this money. That money is not going to help them to stay in the home. The idea of this rental assistance money is to keep them in the property. Once they're out of the property, they're already gone. There's no help in giving them the money.
Okay.
There's obviously help to you, but it doesn't help the tenant.
Right. Somebody asks, is there a link to register on the Hapco website? Yes, if you go into the news, if you go on the main page of the website and click news, you'll find information there. As Paul mentioned, the website's being updated, so there's a chance at some point over the next few days, it may temporarily be down, but at last check, you can go there to get more information. Let me see. Let's see. Will PHA tenants qualify for phase 4?
Yes.
Okay. Take two, let me see. Take 2 families, one with the income of 20,000, the other with the income of 40,000. Do they both get the same amount of rental assistance?
Yes.
Okay.
So the rental assistance is up to $2,000 a month for 18 months.
Is tenant cooperation necessary for utility bill support?
Yes.
Okay.
The tenant needs to cooperate with both the utilities and the rent.
Okay.
The money is for the tenant. It's not technically for you. Obviously, it goes to you as the landlord, but the assistance, it's rental assistance for the tenants.
Okay. Lots of questions to link to register. Again, if you go to Hapco Philadelphia in the news segment, there in the news section, you will find information on this. Can we raise the rent above what we got in phase 1 and phase 2?
I'm not sure I understand the question. If the lease is terminated, if it's the end of the lease, yes, you can raise the rent. I don't know what you mean by above what you got in phase one and phase two. You have a lease agreement, you can keep operating your property the way you've been operating it. As long as it's under $2,000 a month in rent, you'll be able to get the rental assistance for whatever the rental amount is.
Okay. I'm looking through these. There are a lot of questions asking you to repeat things, and I would suggest rather than do that, this will be up on the website. You can re-watch this video, if not tomorrow, in the next few days. Okay, so that's there. Lots of questions in. I'm just trying to see if there's anything more. Let's see. Do you have to include your bank account now, or can you wait until later? I don't
You
know.
can wait. No, that's a good question. You can wait until later.
Okay, very good. I think we've probably gotten through most of these. I apologize if I'm missing. I'm just trying to, a lot of people thanking you for your effort, Paul, and I do too. Great information. We do appreciate it. Okay, so I think unless, Paul, you have any other thoughts, again, we will get this posted, I believe tomorrow on the website. Hopefully there's not problems, but you can get more information on our website that will link you to the city's site for that background. Anything else, Paul?
I just wanted to mention that the back utility payments, the date for that goes back to March the 13th of 2020.
Okay.
So you can get utility assistance for utilities that are owed post that date.
And I think I know the answer to this. Did the tenant have to already have applied for other phases?
No,
Lease expired February 2021, so it expired last month. Can tenants still qualify?
yes, if they're still living in the property, then they still qualify.
Okay.
And you may want to renew the lease if they if they get the rental assistance.
Right.
You might be good.
Well, bottom line here is there is a lot of money available. It is easier than it's ever been through the city, and you want to move quickly to get some of that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Paul, thanks so much. Again, I remind everybody, if you're not connected to us on Facebook, Hapco Philadelphia, and on LinkedIn, we put a lot of information there. We also put a lot of information, obviously, on our website continually, several times a week. There's information there, and also in our email blast. So there's a lot of ways. All of this information, as soon as we get it, we do get it up on our different platforms to keep you informed. And we'll continue to have these as needed. But Paul, thanks again so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Take
Thanks
care.
everybody for coming. Have a great day and a great weekend upcoming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.